Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to another episode of Conquering Cancer and Beyond. Today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Laura Pahules. Laura is a survivor of thyroid cancer and domestic abuse. She started Controlaltdelete, a nonprofit organization that helps to remove the immediate barriers that can keep people in unsafe, abusive environments. Laura uses her personal survivor and career experiences to create a society of survivors. Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for joining me and be willing to share your journey. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And I'm so excited and honored that I get to share the stage with you on March 22nd, where we'll be sharing our cancer stories. How is your preparation coming along?
I feel really good about it. I'm inspired. The other women that are sharing their journeys have really inspired me to get my story out there and share it.
Yeah, same here. I feel like everyone has such powerful stories and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait for that day. It's going to be a lot of amazing energy around.
Absolutely.
So, Laura, let's talk a little bit about your journey. What age were you when you got diagnosed? What kind of cancer were you diagnosed with? And, what kind of treatment did you have to go through?
It was the year I turned 30, and I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. I had I actually had two surgeries and radiation treatment to remove all of the cancer.
Okay. So, how did you take the news when, you heard those dreaded words from your doctor that you have cancer? What was the first thing that went through your mind?
My first thing is I I have to be there for my kids. I got to fight this whatever it takes and make sure, because I had two young kids at the time, make sure that I could get through it for them. When the doctor said cancer, I don't remember anything he said after the word cancer at that visit. I sort of just shut down and focused on, oh no, what am I going to do now?
Yeah. So how did they find your cancer? What kind of
I,
symptoms
you
did you
know,
have?
it's funny, women, as women, we tend to justify things that are going on with our bodies, right? So I was not sleeping, and I just chalked that up to being in a not great marriage. My weight was going up, it was going down, it was going up, it was going down, and again, I stress mom raising kids.
Yeah.
My hands trembled, and I just thought, oh, that's stress. And went to my doctor, and he just did a blood panel but included the thyroid because he saw my hands shaking,
Right.
and he said that that was a symptom of thyroid issues, not necessarily cancer. So he sent me to an endocrinologist, who did the sonogram, the fine needle biopsy, all of that type of stuff, and said, all right, we've got to get in there and get this out, it's cancer.
Oh, wow. So how long did you have to wait before your diagnosis and your surgery?
This diagnosis happened in April of 1998, and I had the first surgery in June of 1998.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how many surgeries have you had in total?
two.
Two. Okay. So the first one was to remove
It
what?
was to remove the thyroid, which is pretty simple and standard. I mean, simple, that, as simple as it can be. But
Okay.
then I also had cancer in the parathyroid glands, which they hadn't picked up, or they biopsied at the time, but they didn't. I don't know if I don't remember the sequence right then, but they came
Sure.
up with cancer as well. So they had to go back in and take. You have six parathyroid glands, if I remember correctly. They took four of them out.
Wow. And how many radiation treatments did you have to go through?
I went through three.
Three. Okay. And how was that for you?
It's at that point I was a single mom, and I also did not have health insurance, which you'll hear all about in the second act
Yeah.
performance. But um, when you get radiation treatment for thyroid cancer, you're supposed to be isolated for at least a week,
Sure.
because it can be contaminating to those around you. Unfortunately, I didn't have health insurance at the time, so each radiation treatment I got the treatment and went home. Um, and then that's disinfecting and boiling silverware and everything you touch to make sure that my kids, they were 7 and 8 at the time, to make sure they did not get exposed to that when they were home.
Yeah, wow, that must have been so tough for you. Did you get some help from friends and family?
I actually did not. When I moved here, I moved to Arizona in 1994, and I had made friends and good friends, but I had no family here other than my kid's father. And um, we were going through a really ugly divorce at this point, and I knew that he would try to use an illness against me to try to get custody of the kids. So I kept it very much to myself. I told a couple people, and one of the people that I told actually said to me, "It's just thyroid cancer. No one dies from thyroid cancer." And
Mhm.
you know, all these years later, 20 something years later, I think about that, and that was her way of dealing with my diagnosis, right? So if they minimalize it, it's not as concerning.
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. I think people don't know how to deal with such some situations like this. So the way they react, it's really on how they are dealing with it.
Yes,
So there's so many, Facebook groups that I'm part of, and sometimes the women put in there that, oh my God, my boyfriend left me when I got diagnosed, my husband left me. And my comment always to that is just forgive them and move on, because
yes,
they just don't know how to deal with it. It's
right,
nothing to do with you, because you are strong. You're going to get through it. They just don't know how to deal with it. And you can't carry that grudge and make yourself worse, make it worse for yourself than it already is, because you've got this big battle to fight right now. And
right.
sometimes things come in our lives as blessings. Let's talk a little bit about what was the one thing that got you through, Laura, the one mantra that really got you through to fight this journey, and you knew you just had to win, there was no other option. What was that one thing?
It was, I have to be there for my kids. That's what kept me going every day, every time I woke up, every time I had to have a biopsy done. Which in all of the treatments that I had and stuff, that fine needle biopsy was probably the worst, because you see this needle coming
Yeah.
into your throat, right? During all of it, it was, I have to get well for my kids. I need to be there for them so that I can make sure they're independent and have a moral compass to guide them through life. So everything that I went through, that's what kept me going. Is I have a son, I have a daughter, they need me, so keep going.
Wow. Yes, I think the strength you get as a mother is it's amazing. It really can make you conquer a lot. And cancer seems like a very small thing in front of being a mother, doesn't it?
Right, it sure does.
I hear you. My girls were 5 and 8 at the time when I got diagnosed. So I had to just show them that, hey, something like this isn't going to put me down. So, Laura, let's talk a little bit about, my big thing with these talks is I feel like, when we are going to our treatments and we get diagnosed, we have doctors and nurses that are with us through this whole time, in your case for your radiation. And then all of a sudden it's like you're done, and the doctor's like, okay, I'll see you in 6 months, life will be back to normal. At that point, I feel that is the point where we have to figure out now how to live our life again, because life, of course, is not going to be like what it was before. And normal has a brand new definition, because after all these treatments, our body isn't the same, our mindset is not the same. A lot of things have changed, and now we need to figure out how to live again. So how did you figure it out? What did you do? What steps did you take to try and figure out what your new normal is, and how you're going to move forward after this experience?
It's funny because it does occupy so much of your time and your focus when you're thinking of what you're battling, right? So when it was done and it was over, and thyroid cancer is pretty definitive when it's done and when it's over, or at least mine was. um, I found I had time, and I didn't miss going to the doctors or the camaraderie of going in and them knowing me. I was grateful for them. But what I did do, a brand new single mom at this point, I started volunteering with my kids, taking my kids to volunteer wherever I could, because no matter what battle we were going through, divorce, cancer, there's always somebody that's not doing as well as we were. So I said, come on guys, we're going to go volunteer. And at least twice a month we would go and volunteer at different places. And so that fulfilled, that took up that time that all of a sudden I had. Now we were out making a difference in the world, and it was kind of amazing to be able to do that with my kids.
Yeah. And show them the importance of not to take life for granted, and that people are worse in worse situations than we are.
Yes.
Right?
And now my kids are grown with kids of their own, and they are still very altruistic, and they volunteer in their own ways. My daughter fosters dogs. My son helps out in the community. So they just find ways to make a difference, which is, I always think if I did one thing right with my kids, it was creating that volunteerism in them.
Wow, that's amazing that, they're giving back to the community. It's because you instilled it in them from when they were younger.
Yes,
And you have a nonprofit organization, right? Control
I
Alt
do.
Delete. So let's talk a little bit about that. What is that about?
I started it in 2019, just last September. It's called Control-Alt-Delete.
Okay.
I named it that because sometimes you need to reset your life, whether it's from cancer, domestic violence, or anything. And the nonprofit actually helps people that are escaping domestic violence with immediate needs.
Right.
And I knew there was a gap in services from working in the nonprofit sector. There's fantastic um, domestic violence shelters out there and services for people that need that. But the people that are in the abusive situation, they're 98% are also financially abused.
Yeah.
So they don't have a way to leave that person. And if there's a waiting list to get into a domestic violence shelter, what do they do then? So that's where Control-Alt-Delete steps in. We may give them a gas card or a cab ride, a hotel room for the night until space opens up in a DV shelter for them.
Okay.
So we're helping with that immediate need. And I knew that it was going to, a service that was going to be needed. I didn't realize how much of a service this was going to be needed.
Right.
So from September 2nd, when we started, through the end of December of 2019, we had 239 escapes.
Wow.
That's, that could be a single woman, it could be a man, it could be a mom with kids, but 239 escapes in that short time frame.
Wow. It's so crazy how we don't even think about those kind of things, and to hear that number is very astonishing.
Right? Yeah. Well, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men are in abusive relationships right now. And every 20 seconds, someone is being abused. So when you think of your circle of friends and your community, and you think of that number, that it's all around us, and there's no socioeconomic barrier. It can happen to anyone. So
Yeah.
we try awareness, just to make people aware that there are types of behavior that are not okay, and that is abuse.
Wow. So how do people get in touch with you when somebody needs this kind of help? What
We
is
have
the
a website. There's a form on our website. Um, I have also been contacted through Facebook Messenger and Instagram.
okay.
Uh, a lot of the different cities in the Phoenix metro area, their victims advocates will call me and say, I have a mom that needs a hotel room for 2 nights. Can you help? Or someone that needs gas, and I help out that way,
Yeah.
as much as we can, which we do all the time.
Yeah. How is your health now that you're a survivor? What are you
It's pretty
doing?
good. With Because I actually had thyroid cancer for probably they don't know definitively how long, but I had it for some time before diagnosis. Um, it actually caused some residual problems. Um, I have a heart issue that I'll have probably for the rest of my life because of that. But I take medicine for that and it's fine.
Yeah.
But other than that, very healthy, very active, really try for a positive mindset to just make a difference every single day.
Absolutely. What's the one thing you think has changed about you from before the diagnosis to after?
I appreciate every single second of every single day. Um, it just, I know that it can be gone in an instant. And every morning I'm waking up and I'll watch the sunrise and I'll watch the sunset and just enjoy, meeting new people, talking to people, listening to stories, and just I have a much greater zest for life in general now than when I was first diagnosed, because then I was focused on being a mom, my job, all of those things. And now it's this huge, great big picture of everything beautiful.
Yeah. You just seem so happy, Laura. Just the way you talk and just looking at your face, it's like I look at you and I just feel happy inside. And I truly believe that what we have inside, it just shows. It shows on your face. It shows because our eyes and our face are a mirror of our heart. So you can try and, people can try and cover all they want, but your eyes and face just don't lie. And the energy is just amazing.
Oh, thank you. And I do definitely wear everything. I mean, there's no hiding anything on my face. So when I'm sad, you know it. When I'm happy, you know it. And
Yeah.
but I honestly, even working with people in domestic violence, it can get heavy at times.
Absolutely.
But knowing that we're helping and that they're getting out of that environment gives me the strength and the hope to keep going.
Wow, that's amazing. You're doing such an amazing and noble thing. Thank you so much, Laura. Thanks
Okay.
for sharing your journey. And I'm just going to end with asking you, what's the one thing you would like to tell anybody who is starting on this journey, or the one lesson that you've learned from being a survivor? What's the one thing?
Well, to never give up is huge, but also just to take the comments that people say and just know that those comments aren't directed at you. It's just they're processing what's happening to you. It's not personal. It's just that's how they deal with the scare and the concern.
Absolutely is. Thank you so much, Laura. And I cannot wait to share the stage with you on March 22nd.
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Thank you.